after his mother sent an electronic message to the transgender center saying that we are lucky her family was not the type to sue. I bet they did not want to be trans. Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is freaking horrible. I thought I was saving trans kids. Now I'm blowing the whistle. There are more than 1,000 pediatric gender clinics across the US. I worked at one. What's happening to children is morally and medically appalling. I am a 42-year-old St. Louis native, a queer woman, and politically to the left of Bernie Sanders. My worldview has deeply shaped my career. I have spent my professional life providing counseling to the vulnerable population, till children in foster care and sexual minorities, the poor. Okay. For almost 4 years, I worked at the Washington University School of Medicine Division of Infectious Disease with teens and young adults who were HIV positive. Many of them were trans or otherwise gender non-conforming, and I could relate. Through childhood and adolescence, I did a lot of gender questioning myself, which is good. I'm now married to a trans man, and together we are raising my 2 biological children from my previous marriage and 3 foster children who we hope to adopt. All that led me to the job in 2018 as a case manager at Washington University Transgender Center at St. Louis Children's Hospital, which had been established a year earlier. The center working assumption was that the earlier you treat kids with gender dysphoria, the more anguish you can prevent later on. This premise was shared by the center's doctors and therapists. Yeah. Given their expertise, I assume the abundant evidence backed this consensus. It doesn't back up shit, it backs up emotion. But okay. During the 4 years I worked at the clinic as a case manager, I was responsible for patients' intake and oversight. Around 1,000 distressed young people came through our doors. The majority of them receive hormone prescriptions that can have life-altering consequences, including sterility. Do you remember? Now you understand that Holland already stopped with this in very early. I left the clinic in November last year because I could no longer participate in what's happening there. By the time I departed, I was certain that the way the American medical system is treating the patient is the opposite of the promise we make to do no harm. Instead, we are permanently harming the vulnerable patients to our care. Yes, you are. Today, I'm speaking out. LGBTQ that makes sense, unite. I am doing so knowing how toxic the public conversation is around this highly contentious issue and the ways that my testimony might be misused. I am doing so knowing that I'm putting myself at serious personal and professional risk. Almost everyone in my life advised me to keep my head down. Yeah, shut up, you bigot! But I cannot in good conscience do so, because what is happening to the scores of children is far more important than my comfort. That is like real mom energy. And what is happening to them is morally and medically appalling. That I know is bad. The floodgates have opened. Soon after my arrival at the transgender center, I was struck by the lack of formal protocols for treatments. The center physician co-directors were essentially the sole authority. Now you find it weird when people compare you to Nazi and fascism? At first, the patient's population was tipped toward what used to be traditional instance of a child with gender dysphoria, a boy often quite young who wanted to be a girl. Until 2050 or so, a very small number of these boys comprised the population of pediatric gender dysphoria cases. Then, across the Western world, there began to be a dramatic increase in a new population, teenage girls, many which now previous history of gender distress suddenly declared they were transgender and demanded immediate treatment with testosterone. I certainly saw this at the center. One of my jobs was to do intake for new patients and their family. When I started, there were probably 10 such calls a month. When I left, there were 50. And about 70% of the new patients were girls. Sometimes cluster of girls arrive from the same high school. And you think it's weird that I kept saying they're producing them at the school? They're going with the group? Oh, girls are not confrontational. They will get along sometime. Boys too. I know. But we know which one is a little more social than the others. And you have to take at least that in consideration. This concerned me, but I didn't feel I was in a position to sound some kind of alarm back then because that's transphobic. There was a team of about 8 of us and only one other person brought up kinds of questions I had. Anyone who raised doubts ran the risk of being called The girls who came to us had many comorbidities, difficult word, depression, anxiety, ADHD, eating disorder, obesity. Many were diagnosed with autism. Oh, so maybe not everybody has autism. You like to autism them very quickly. Or had autism-like symptoms. You see? Told you. A report last year on a British pediatric transgender center found that about 1/3 of the patients referred there were on the okay, so people self-diagnose. They self-diagnosed and said, cool. Frequently, our patients declared they had disorder that no one believed they had. We had patients who said they had Tourette syndrome, but they didn't. They had tic disorders, but they didn't. They had multiple personality, but they didn't. Doctors privately recognize these false self-diagnoses as a manifestation of social contagion. They even acknowledge that this has an element of social contagion. But when I said that the cluster of girls streaming into our service looked as if their gender issue might be a manifestation of social contagion, the doctor said the gender identity reflected something innate. That's why I keep saying they are producing these people and they don't want to call it out. To begin transitioning, the girl needed a letter of support from a therapist, usually one we recommend, biased, who they had to see only once or twice for the green light. To make it more efficient for the therapist, we offered them a template for how to write a letter in support of transitioning. The new stop was a single visit to the endocrinologist for a testosterone prescription. How do you go to a place when you self-diagnose yourself, where they easily label you as autism, and then you go talk to a therapist that is not allowed to go against your license because he might lose the license? But then again, the center itself is going to tell you, send a letter like this, so it's shorter and quicker to get a transition that we told you that you might need, when the therapist is not even allowed to go against you. We live in that world. When a female takes testosterone, the profound and permanent effect of the hormone can be seen in a matter of months. Voice drops, beard sprout, body fat is distributed, sexual interest explodes, aggression increase, mood can be unpredictable, or patients were told about some side effects including sterility. But after working at the center, I came to believe that the teenagers are simply not capable of fully grasping what it means to make a decision to become infertile while still a minor. The kids don't even live in a third world country where it's kind of normalized to talk about that. You live in a freaking first world country. It's all about be a boss, babe, get the job. They have no idea. You set them on a journey when your culture points them in a direction when later something else might appear. You are destroying their lives when they haven't even started yet. Side effects. Many encounters with patients emphasize to me how little these young people understood their profound impact changing gender would have on their bodies and minds. But the center downplayed the negative consequence and emphasized the need for transition. As the center's website said, left untreated, gender dysphoria has a number of consequences from self-harm to very, very good deletion. But when you take away gender dysphoria by allowing a child to be who he or she is, we're noticing that goes away. Duh! I don't need to be a scientist or psychologist to know that. Let's talk about the damage of assertion. Here's an example. On Friday, May 1, 2020, a colleague of mine emailed me about a 15-year-old male patient. Oh dear. I'm concerned that the patient does not understand what bicalutamide does. I responded, I don't think that we start anything honestly right now. Bicalutamide is a medication used to treat metastatic prostate cancer, and one of its side effects is that it feminizes the body of men who take it, including the appearance of breasts. The center prescribed this cancer drug as a puberty blocker and feminizing agent for boys. As with most cancer drugs, bada bing, bada boom, that weird name that it is, has a long list of side effects, and the patient experienced one of them, liver toxicity. Abra. He was sent to another unit of the hospital for evaluation and immediately taken off the drug. After his mother sent an electronic message to the transgender center saying that we are lucky her family was not the type to sue. I bet they did not want to be transphobic. How little patients understood what they were getting into was illustrated by a call we received at the center in 2020 by a 70-year-old biological female patient who was on testosterone. She said she was bleeding from her vagina. In less than an hour, she had soaked through an extra heavy pad, her jeans, and a towel she had wrapped around her waist, and the nurse at the center told her to go to the emergency room right away. We found out later this girl had had intercourse, and because testosterone thins the vaginal tissue, her vaginal canal has ripped open. She had to be sedated and given surgery to repair the damage. She wasn't the only vaginal laceration case we heard about. Other girls were disturbed by the effects of testosterone on their clit, which enlarged and grown into what looked like a micro... Okay, so that's a micro pee-pee. Oh, yeah. I counseled one patient whose enlarged clit now extended below her vulva, and it chafed and rubbed painfully in her jeans. I advised her to get the kind of compression undergarment worn by biological men who dressed to pass as a female. At the end of the call, I thought to myself, whoa. We heard these kids. No shit, you Dumbo. It's all about... what I find so weird, when people say puberty blocker, it's not like a medicine that is meant to help you not become the other gender. It's just a random drug to just block it. As long as we block it, they will be happy. That is not logical. You cannot have a solution with a problem that you cannot predict. That's why I keep telling people you are just an experiment. There are rare conditions in which babies are born with atypical genitalia, cases that call for sophisticated care and compassion. But clinics like the one where I work are creating a whole cohort of kids with atypical genitals, and most of these teens haven't even had sex yet. They had no idea who they were going to be as an adult. Yet all it took for them to permanently change their body themselves was 1 or 2 short conversations with a therapist that is afraid to lose their license if they go against the agenda by kids that usually self-diagnose themselves with autism or whatever. And you know what? As I said before, like a huge percentage, 70% or something like that of the kids have autism. Kinda weird, right? Being put on powerful doses of testosterone and estrogen enough to try to trick your body into mimicking the opposite sex affects the rest of your body. I doubt that any parent who's ever consented to give their kids testosterone a long life treatment knows that they are possibly signing their kid up for blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, and perhaps sleep apnea and diabetes. And here's an email from a parent. Please be advised I'm revoking my consent from this course of medical treatment. Grades have dropped. There has been an inpatient behavioral health visit, and now he's on 5 different medications. Lexapro, Trazodone, Busbar, oh my god. Bada bing bada boom is a shell of his former self-riddled with anxiety. Who knows if it's because the hormone blockers or the other medication. I revoke my consent. I want the hormone blockers removed. Besides teenage girls, another group was referred to as young people from the inpatient psychiatry unit or the emergency department of St. Louis Children's Hospital. The mental health of these kids was deeply concerning. They were diagnosed like schizophrenia, PTSD, bipolar disorder, and more. And often, they're already on a fistful of, oh my god. You know what? Hey man, I'll just leave the article because it's gonna be too long of a video. But this is a horror story. This is a horror story. And it's like we are helping people with huge mental issue that finally have the opportunity to come at a place that they are right, and these are the same people are creating now or changing the laws for the rest of the people, and we have to tiptoe around that? I think actually it has to be vice versa. And I know it's a hard advice, but the idea that you give people that cannot even survive on their own, but they need so much help, and then at the same time you give them so much power, and we have to tiptoe around that, it's like, of course the government is going to be like, hey, we need to marketize this, because if we control this, we control the world, we control the people, because we are the empathy, we are the government, and we are here to help. I think that's a very dangerous quote. Anyway, Let me know what you guys think. You can just read the article going down, but this is something that I've called out so long. I'm glad this lady has come out. This is amazing, bro. Well, not amazing, but the reveal. Because just by reading this, hey man, I'm gonna be in the life of my kid every day. Every day. Every day. I will do everything I can be around my kid. Community, what is a man, what is a woman, it's gonna be clear. Just like my Jordan Peterson video that I'm going to upload today, which already I think I would upload it. The thing is, when you confuse too many people about a subject, the even confused people already are gonna explode. Well, let's see. Let's see, man. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, hit the bell notification. See you guys next time. Peace.